Everyone knows that before you buy your first car, you gotta have a Porsche. Everyone knows that before you start your first job, you gotta have 6 years work experience. And everyone also knows that before you settle down, meet a girl, date her, you gotta marry her first. And everyone also knows that before you slip your socks on, you gotta make sure your shoes are tied. And everyone knows you need to put the milk in before the cereal, but that might spark some controversy in the comments down below. Now, why am I saying all this? Because it doesn't make sense. Just like you. Yes, you don't make sense. Why? You haven't started your D&D campaign yet. And why is that? Don't know enough about the game? Haven't played long enough? Don't know enough about the players? Don't know enough about the world? Don't know enough about monsters, how to play them properly? Don't know enough about doing voices? Don't know enough about prepping? Not prepping? Improving? Scare you? Well, it shouldn't. It might sound daunting and intimidating, but I'm going to tell you now. Close out of this video and go start prepping your first campaign. Or, better yet, take that campaign idea that you've had in the back of your mind that you haven't told anyone, but it's been sitting there lingering, waiting to show to the rest of the world, and go start. Okay, you're still here. Right, I figured it might take a little bit more convincing. That, or you're just genuinely interested in what I have to say and might share this along to a friend, in which case please do, the analytics would help. You don't need to have all the bells and whistles before you start DMing. You don't need to have the minis, you don't need to have the maps, you don't need to know the know-how, you don't even need to have friends. Those you can pick up along the way. And I'm going to tell you how. Believe in yourself. Yes, it sounds stupid. Yes, it's stereotypical, cliche, whatever. Believe in yourself, seriously. It does wonders. You are never going to know if you can DM unless you try. When I was very young, elementary school, the youth group pastor at my local church started running a D&D campaign with some kids in the community. I desperately wanted to play. They told me I was too young and couldn't, but that I could watch. So watch I did, and I was entranced. I stayed for a few sessions. My neighbor's older brother ran a one-shot for the two of us, and then we ended up running a one-shot that was Minecraft themed, which took place in the Nether, but we didn't actually roll dice, and we didn't actually play D&D. We just kind of did whatever. And that was fine. It was storytelling, it was fun. We had fun with it. My next experience DMing was after I'd played in about 3 sessions. My friend Seth, who's actually here on the channel, brought up to our friend group, hey, there's this game D&D, we should play it. And it was a repressed memory that I'd forgotten about, and revitalized with just this love for it and this desire to play this game that I'd wanted to as a kid. And I was full of ideas, but I had no idea how to express them. All that we had was a found PDF of the player's handbook and the monster manual. We had literally nothing else to our name. We didn't even own dice. We used dice rollers in the beginning. And we just started playing. My first experience DMing was New Year's Eve in 2017. I wanted to run a one-shot for my friends. I didn't really know what I was doing. The combat wasn't really all that intricate. They kind of went through a dungeon. I sliced someone's hands off at one point. It was kind of rude, but I let them mending it back on. They stole a pirate ship. They blew stuff up. It was crazy and hectic and fun. And some of those things I described actually happened afterwards because the campaign started. And I had no experience. I didn't have experience with improv. I wasn't a theater kid. I never was. I didn't know how to prepare for a session. I just kind of figured it out. I didn't know how to guide my players along to the desired destination. I just kind of figured it out. I didn't know how to portray different NPCs. I just figured it out. And I didn't know how to balance encounters. Sometimes I still struggle with that, honestly. What I'm trying to say is that you don't need to have it all together. You don't need to feel like you're perfect, that you know exactly what you're doing. You can just try. Because at the end of the day, you'll never know if you never try. Am I telling you that when you start this campaign, it's going to be magnificent and beautiful? No. Am I even telling you that you're going to finish it? Honestly, let's be real, probably not. So keep it short. Keep it a quick story, like Minds of Fendelver. Something that you can kind of guide your players through in a few sessions. Something that hooks them into the plot. And is satisfying. And maybe you take those characters, if you like that group and everyone enjoyed it, and you keep going with it. You don't need to have intricate backstories for all your players. You can just throw them into a world. I know plenty of people who have started their D&D adventures as doing a one-shot in Walmart. It's actually a more common thing than you'd think, and I know that D&D can be an expensive hobby. Not as expensive as Magic, but expensive. It requires minis, maps, dice. Oh, wait a second. No, it actually doesn't require any of those things. You don't need minis, you don't need a map, you don't even need dice. What you need is a little creativity. To give you an example, me and my friends in high school, we didn't have money. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we knew that we needed a battle map. So what we did, we took a piece of foam, our friend's dad drew a 1x1 inch grid on it, we put a piece of plexiglass on it. It was actually from a Star Wars poster of mine, I pulled it off. We taped that plexiglass down to the table every time we had a session, and we had dry erase markers that we drew our maps on. For tokens, for minis, we used scraps of paper with names written on it. Minifigures from different board games. We were creative. And those of us without dice, I mean, a lot of people have phones nowadays. So even if you don't have everything else, whatever device you're watching this on, you can roll dice on that. And honestly, everyone can share a set of dice. Not everyone needs their own set. You don't need to have tons and tons and tons of sets of dice. And that's coming from someone who has been a dice goblin in the past and has an obscene number of dice. None of it's required. All we need is you. Because you have a unique story that no one else is ever going to come up with. You have a unique idea, a unique way of seeing the world that no one else sees exactly. Because the thing about storytelling is it's not really original. Every single story is based from a certain point of view. And your point of view is unique to you. And I think your point of view is valid and important and should be shared. So should your story. You should feel like you can share your story with others, those around you, friends or strangers. Which is why if you're concerned about starting DMing is you don't have people to be friends with, then find the people and make them your friends later. The way I started my most successful campaign was a list out on the internet. Now some of those people left. Some of those people were bad apples. But at the end of the day, I got 3 really close friends out of it. One of the people actually invited another person along. And so then we got 4. And better yet, one of my high school friends ended up becoming roommates with one of the people I randomly met on the internet. None of that would have happened if I didn't just reach out. If I didn't just get the confidence to reach out and start this campaign when I had no one to run a game with. Your life can literally change from a game of D&D. This game, I'm telling you, it's more powerful than I think you realize. You will find so much fulfillment, so much joy from it. Will it sometimes be stressful? We sometimes not know what to do? Of course. But there are always opportunities to grow. Always opportunities to try something new. There's always opportunities to fail and learn to do better in the future. You like it up there? You're kind of ruining my shot. I'll scooch over if you want that side. I'll just move over here. All right. What I'm trying to say, D&D is a great game. And I don't want you to miss out on its joy. I don't want you to miss out on the joy of becoming a DM and having fun with this game. I want you to share your story. Because your story is unique. No one else has ever come up with it. Not exactly the same way you have. And even if you don't want to make up your own story, a module, it's never going to be exactly the same. Because the thing is, those jokes, the laughs you have, the miserable dice rolls where everything goes wrong, and the great dice rolls where everything goes right. You're going to cherish those memories forever. So please, don't back down. And to those of you who have an entire campaign prepped, you're just holding yourself back, go for it. I'm calling out one person right now because they're on this channel and I know they need to hear this. Brian, start your freaking campaign, all right? Brian's had this wonderful, beautiful idea for a campaign for months now. An amazing setting, really cool intricacies between the way the different realms work, inspired off of D&D, but his own unique thing, and he has refused to start it. Not ready yet, it's not perfect, he hasn't done enough prep work. You don't need to do tons of prep work. All you need is to just come up with one little story and go from there. Write down these things. An NPC who gives the quest. An NPC who's the bad guy. A thing for that bad guy to do. and one obstacle between the party and that objective, and go from there. You don't need that much to start a campaign. You don't even need to know the name of the town. You can come up with that on the spot, and it can be Bloomsburg. I don't know. No one at that table is actually going to care what you name your stuff. They're not going to care if you have voices for your characters. You can simply say, the bartender looks at you. There's a saddened look on his face. And as you peer behind him, you can see a job board behind him. There's a missing person. It's his wife. You don't need to get intricate with the scenery and the detail, all right? No one's Matt Mercer here. You don't need to be able to describe the way the fog lingers right off the ground and a haunting aura fills the dark forest. You can simply say, there's a dark forest and mist, it's hard to see. What do you do? I feel like people get unrealistic expectations of what their D&D game is supposed to look like, and that holds them back. But let me tell you, your players don't care about that. They really won't. And those that do, this might be a point for another video, but might be misguided, might need to be pushed in the right direction. Because at the end of the day, D&D is always going to be different at every single table. If D&D was the same everywhere, it wouldn't be interesting. It wouldn't be fun. It'd be repetitive. Thank you for watching this episode of Brunch Break. If you have any comments, questions, either me or someone else may respond and help give you a good direction, set you on the right path. But until then, take care. Peace out.